Hey guys, welcome to the Planet Coaster Alpha. Last week I was lucky enough to attend a press event where we got to play hands-on with the Planet Coaster Alpha. And in this video I'm going to be sharing that gameplay footage with you and telling you everything you could possibly want to know about Planet Coaster. So where should we start? Well, the Alpha unlocks on the 22nd of March. And if you want to join in the Alpha, you can. You need to buy the Early Bird Edition, which costs $49.95, which is $75 US, which is quite expensive. If you want to hang on for the full release of the game, you're going to have to wait about 7 months. The expected release date for the full game is going to be about October-ish. And if you want to pre-order a full copy of the game, that's going to cost you $19.95 or $30 US. And you can pick both of those up at the Frontier store, and I'll put a link in the video description. Okay, with that out of the way, is it any good? Well, I can sum it up in one word. It's absolutely freaking awesome sauce-alicious. It is really, really good, guys. But it is an alpha, so not everything's going to be there on the 22nd. So what's going to be available on launch day, and how long are we going to have to wait for other features? So right now the game is basically a sandbox game. The park management stuff isn't there yet. That's going to be coming along over the next few months as the game develops. The modular buildings and scenery, the game's launching with two themes, the Planet Coaster theme and the Pirates theme, which I really love. There's so much stuff in there. There's a lot of content for both of those themes. There are two more themes coming along very soon, which are the sci-fi theme and the fairy tales theme. Both of those have been announced, and they've shown some of the concept art for that in the recent live stream. Flat rides, there are currently, in the version that we saw, which was a slightly pre-alpha, it was kind of the build just before the alpha build, there were 13 flat rides in there, ranging from the Ferris wheel, the Rocktopus, kids rides, carousels, you name it. And there's a lot more of those rides coming along apparently, and we should be seeing those pretty quickly. Coaster building. Coaster building is not going to be available in the alpha. They told us. But after getting some feedback from us and the rest of the community, they have decided to unlock coaster building. Oh yes. But it's not going to be just like straight unlocked. It's going to be unlocked via a cheat code. Oh yes. And I'll put the details of how you unlock that in the video description. I'll probably actually make a video and show you how to do that. Because you have to go to a particular place and put in a cheat code. But I thought it was really cool that they were going with a retro cheat code. I like that. And finally, terrain editing, which is the thing that I am most excited about. That is not going to be available on day one. According to the developers that I talked to, you're probably looking at about 4 to 6 weeks, something kind of like that. Like, don't hold them to it, but probably about 4 to 6 weeks, and then we'll have terrain editing. And the terrain editing, oh my god. We got to see some of the things that the developers have been building using the terrain editing. And oh my god, it is gonna be crazy, the stuff that gets built when that is available. But more about that later. So let's talk a little bit about the interface. Now, you've seen in the background that I'm playing around with the paths and trying out different things. The interface, I've got to say, is pretty easy. It's not the most intuitive interface that you'll ever use. There are a bunch of hotkeys that you're going to have to learn. Although, having said that, you can actually do everything through the GUI interface, and there are some really nice features to make life very, very easy. Like if you want to be precise or you want to be very free, you've got lots of options. So, for example, with this one, you've got an option to either have on the path free rotation, so you can just like put the thing anywhere, or if you want to be very precise and do like circles or spirals or something like that, you can actually set it to snap, and then you can set the snap angle. So if you want it to snap at 22.5 degrees or 45 degrees or 90 degrees or whatever you want, you can set those. I found the paths in general really easy to use. You can pretty much do anything that you want. You can join paths together. You can force them to not join together if you want that. You can create sunken paths, elevated paths. You can be as precise or not as you want. And it's one of the things that I really like about the game is that I didn't find myself running into barriers. You know, when I was trying to do things, there was usually a very easy way to achieve whatever I wanted to achieve. A couple of things worth pointing out. You can't currently elevate a curved section of path. So if you want to have an elevated section that then curves around, you have to do the curved part flat. But it's something that they're working on, and you will be able to do that like eventually at some point in the future. And the other thing is the number of paths. Currently there are 5 paths, but again, there are going to be more coming along in the future. Okay, so let's move on to the modular building. Now, this turned out to be a huge amount of fun. When I was doing this, I'd literally only been on the keyboard for like 10 minutes maximum, and that was just really getting a bit of tuition from one of the developers. Actually, their head of animation, Nick Rogers, really nice guy, and a big thank you to Nick for all the time he gave me. I decided I'd do something fairly simple. I'd put together a little food court. Now these are all the food and merchandising buildings, and you've got like your burger joint, which is Chief Beef, and you've got like all kinds of hats that get sold, which is sold at Hats Fantastic. Now I'm just showing off here the auto stacking, which is a really nice feature. So if you've got the auto stacking ticked on, then when you put components together, it'll automatically put them one on top of another. But if you take that off, then you can actually merge components into one another. So for example, let's say you want a rock sticking out of a wall or something, then if you take the auto stack off, then it'll merge them together automatically. So what I thought I'd do, I put together a little food court with a Chief Beef and a drinks place and a Hats Fantastic, and then you can see that they've got a front wall, and then the rear part of the building is kind of like just a shell. And then what you do is you put something, you create a building around that. Now I've put together here something very simple, but the more I played with it, the more I realized that you can create really intricate building. If you want to create like a shopping mall with multiple levels and elevated paths and like you name it, like if you can think of it, you could do it with this modular building. And after you've played with it for a little while, you can put this stuff together actually pretty quickly. Now, like, I'm kind of like messing around here, and I'm talking a lot about the controls. Unfortunately, the audio kind of got messed up, which was the same for I think virtually all the YouTubers who were recording there, which is a real shame, because I got a lot of really good info from Nick, who was sitting alongside me, like telling me like various different clever things that you can do with the controls and whatever. But I'll try and remember as best I can. So you can see here that I'm kind of just constructing an exterior wall around it. And you can see how easy it is to do. And it, like, rotating the pieces is just tapping the Z key. And it just pop them together like this. Now, once I've got the walls put together, then it's the roof. Now, and this brought up kind of an interesting thing, because there are all kinds of different roof shapes. I mean, you can see how many different components there are. Now, this is just for the Planet Coaster theme and the Pirates theme. And there's going to be like there's going to be huge amounts of stuff. There's going to be a hell of a lot of components in there. There's going to be a lot of content for this game, which I love. But you can see, as I start to place the roof, you can see the gap between the roof and the wall. Right, well, you know, how are you going to fill gaps like that? Well, that's what they're doing. They're taking care of all those kinds of things. Wherever there are like gaps like that, they're creating components to fill those. Now, while I'm messing around with this and trying to put a roof on this, one quick word about the modding, because whilst you are going to be able to create what they call blueprinted buildings, like for example this building, once I've constructed this building, I can create a blueprint from that, and that will allow me to then share that with the entire Planet Coaster community. But when it comes to real, and that's what they're calling user-generated content, but for real user-generated content, I'm talking about modders adding additional assets into the game, so additional components that we can use to create buildings or decorate the park or whatever. That is something that they are working on. That is gonna happen in the future. Now, there are no time scales on that at all, so I can't give you any guidance. I don't know whether that's going to be not until after the full game is released, or whether they're going to do it before. I have no idea. But I thought I'd slip down and mention it. So here you can see these different pieces that go in for the different roof shapes to fill in the gaps between the walls and the roofs. And there are also all kinds of edging pieces, and there are windows and hatches and all, like doorways, like all kinds of things. Seriously, I didn't even have enough time to go through all of the little bits and pieces in here. Now, obviously, I'm playing around with the Planet Coaster theme here, but I spent some time after my recording slot, because we had a 1 hour recording slot, and the first 15 minutes was getting a tutorial from the developers. So we didn't actually have like that much time to record. But afterwards, I actually sat down with some other YouTubers, with Biffa and with Blitzkriegsler and Flabberleaky. And we sat around for hours, like building castles and all kinds of crazy stuff. It is a huge amount of fun. Seriously, I mean, we sat there for hours just messing around, just with the modular building, because obviously we didn't have access to anything else. We didn't have access to the coaster builder. It wasn't until after the press event was over that they decided they were going to unlock the coaster builder, so we couldn't do any of that, and obviously the terrain editing isn't available. But even with just the modular building, there is hours and hours and hours of fun to be had, and we only scratched the surface. Seriously, the game is incredibly addictive. Once you start tinkering, you will be tinkering with it for hours. Now, you're probably wondering what the hell I was doing there. I was actually looking for some bits of chrome, and I was looking at the nuts and bolts. The game is beautiful. The graphics are really, really good. Now, you will notice as you watch this footage that there are one or two little glitchy bits. For example, if you get two building components that are overlapping, in the pre-alpha build that we had, you'd get like a flickering going on as it was trying to render each component over the other one. It didn't know which to render. That was actually already fixed in, even though it wasn't in the build that we were using, that had already been fixed. And they're improving the graphics like pretty much on a daily basis. And if you see any like bits of chrome piping in the game, oh, it's beautiful. And the reflections that you see are real reflections of the surroundings. It's not like in some other games where it's just kind of a random reflection of something that isn't really there. These are absolutely accurate. Now I'm just starting to play around with the decorations, and here I'm putting on the signs. Very important to put signs on the building so people know where they can go and get a drink and go and get a burger. And again, I'm just playing around with the Nick's actually telling me about the different keys that you can press to get different things. So for example, just here, just pressing the Alt key will automatically center an item on the grid. So you can either put it like wherever you want, or press Alt and it'll just snap it into place. Seriously, it's so easy to build relatively complex buildings and to make them look really nice. Now, Nick was just explaining to me that, like we said right at the beginning, the park management stuff isn't in there. So right now, you can't manage the staff, and the staff don't have any effect on the park. But ultimately, the staff will have a big effect on the park. If you look after your staff and you get them well motivated, they will serve customers faster, they will sell more. So for example, a staff member who's well motivated and happy will serve a customer about like twice as fast as a staff member who's demotivated. So managing your park well is going to be a really important thing. And that's the same with the buildings, because the buildings tie into how happy your park guests are. So there's like a range of different quality of items that you can add, just from very small things up to the big animatronic things. Like you've probably seen the Kraken, and I'll show you the Kraken at some point in this footage. And the more elaborate your buildings, the more decorations, the more expensive the decorations that you put on there, the happier your park guests will be, and the happier they are, the more they spend. And the game is going to be very much balanced towards rewarding well-designed, attractive, well-run parks. We obviously haven't seen any of that gameplay yet, but the Tycoon park management element is going to be really important. I mean, it's all very well and good having a game that's great to build in and all the rest of it, but with a game like this, you also want the Tycoon gameplay to be good. Now, right now, it's because it's nighttime. So, or it was nighttime, but by the time I finish this, it'll be daytime because I'm taking so long to do this. But I'm just playing around with the lighting, and there's all kinds of lighting. If you look at the grid at the bottom, you can see, like, I'm using a little box light, but there are also searchlights and lanterns and all kinds of different lighting things that you can put on. So there you go. See, now I've finished. It's blooming daylight. Terrific. Well done, Skye. And now I decide that we really ought to put some nice big spotlights on the roof. So I'm going to put some magenta spotlights, which I have to say, like just putting them like pointing out into space, they don't really show up tremendously well. It's much better to have them like pointing at a building or an object or a statue or something like that. Then they really show up really, really nicely. So after a bit of messing around, I got 3 spotlights on there, and then Nick did a little bit of developer magic and set it to nighttime so that we could actually take a look. And as you can see, you can see them, but they don't kind of show up terrifically well. It's much better if you've got them kind of bouncing off a surface or whatever. But the point is, that's a building that I was able to put together like relatively quickly. Even after only a few minutes of playing with the game. And if you know what you're doing, then I'll show you now. This is some footage of one of their developers throwing a similar building together. And as you can see, I mean, they can throw these things together so quickly. Like once you've got used to it, and once you've got used to the controls, it really is so easy to build. And because there's lots of variety about the components, you can create lots and lots of different, completely unique buildings. Look at this. Look how fast that gets just like... Okay, it's time-lapse, but even so. I bet that took him like probably 3-4 minutes to put together. Oh, now this was where I started to get carried away, and it's going to happen to you. What I'm playing around with now is the animated decorations. Now these are the cannons, and oh, seriously, these are just the most fun. You are going to love playing around with this. Probably the most fun I had during the whole day, and I had a really, really nice day out. They really looked after us. It was great meeting all the other YouTubers. Probably the most fun that I had during the day was persuading Biffa to create a statue, and he had the Pirate King statue, and I made him put a cannon in an inappropriate place so that it popped out. You know where I'm going with this, right? You know what? If you go and watch, because Biffa will have a video out today, so like you should go and watch Biffa's video, because he might just show that. He might just show that. Actually, there I am yakking away. Those little chrome skulls, you might want to rewind that and have a look at that, because the effect on those, they've got a torch built into them, and if you look at it, you can see the heat effect. There's so much to tell you about. I'm not keeping up. Here, this is how you can just duplicate buildings. So if you build like a food court and you don't want to create like another one, you can just duplicate them, just cut and paste. And if you do it with if you construct like parts of buildings, then you can use those as blueprints to create other buildings. It's very easy. Right, rides. Let's talk flat rides for a bit. Enough of the modular building. Let's talk flat rides. So, the flat rides are so easy that I could do this even without Nick telling me what I needed to do. You can see that you get this pop-up, and it tells you exactly what you have to do. So the first thing you have to do is put in an entrance. And you just like click the box and it gives you an entrance. And you just plop it anywhere on the ride. And then you have to plop an exit. So pop an exit down, which I do eventually. There we go, boom. And then it tells you you need to put in a queue. Now queue is a different type of path. It's not a regular path. And I speeded this up because I spent I don't know, like a minute or so, like trying to figure out how to put in a nice U bend, because I was gonna put like quite a long queue in for this, and then you put in your ticket booth, and that's your entrance queue. That's it, done, right? And then you can just turn your ride on, boom, done. That's it. And then one thing that Nick had to remind me to do. Okay, he did. Yeah, he did remind me that you need to connect your exit to the path. And you notice that it automatically creates it matches the widths up automatically. So it's so easy to use, and it's so flexible. You really can do whatever the hell you want. And that particular ride that I put down there was the Forge, which is a really nice ride. I'll probably throw in some footage. There's been a lot of footage of that ride, because that was one of the first rides that they did. This thing is huge. I love this ride. Oh, now the reason I zoomed out here, I'm just showing you the buildable area, and we were talking about how big the buildable area is, and you can see the dotted line around, and that shows you how big the buildable area is. Now that's the current buildable area, and some of you may be saying, oh, that's too small, that's too small. Don't worry. The developers estimate that the final buildable area is probably going to be something like 4 times bigger than the current area. So yeah, and let's face it, I think that is going to be enough for a theme park. And they said it may well be even bigger than that, but they're going to balance it against like having a big enough area along with like playability. So yeah, that's something that we'll see as time goes on. So now I'm just having a little look through the rides. This is the Victory, which is like the pirate ship. And then this is the Whirly Rig. This is a little kiddies ride. So you'll be able to keep all the different types of people happy. This is the what is this called? That's the Star Rig, I think it's called, something like that. Star Wheel or something. This is the big Ferris wheel, and it is pretty big. And I think I'm about to zoom in and give you a bit of a look at it, with a bit of luck. If not, I'll find some better footage. Yeah, I think I'm going to zoom in and take a look at the animations now, because obviously I was sitting with the head of animations of Frontier, and I wanted to talk to him about the animations and specifically make the point that all the animation sequences that we've seen in the run up to Alpha. The question was, yeah, okay, like, these are pre-production, or they're pre-rendered. Are they going to look like that when we actually get into the game? And as you can see, yeah, that's exactly what they look like. I mean, the game is beautiful. The shadows, the reflections, the detail in the animation. And one of the big things that they've tried to do is make the guests in your park part of the UI, so that you're going to be able to tell very easily, based on what you see them doing, what their mannerisms are, what their reactions are to things. You're going to be able to know what's going on in your park. So if there's a really good ride, then you'll see them happy and cheering. If you need more toilets in a particular area, then you'll see people wanting to go to the toilet. So yeah, that kind of living UI is a big thing. What we're going to do now is take a look at some of the pre-built parks, and we're going to talk about the terrain editor, because this is where it gets crazy for me. Now, here is something that one of the developers at Frontier has thrown together, and this is the Golem, and you may have seen this before, because they have shown this before. But look at this thing. Now, immediately, like, your imagination runs wild. Like, you can build anything with this. Like, literally, you're only limited by your imagination, and that's what I love about this. I mean, when you think about it, like flat rides, well, you put a flat ride in, and that's kind of it. And yeah, you've got the ride cams, which we'll talk about. But that's kind of that. Yes, you've got the flexibility with the coaster builders, but, coasters are coasters are coasters. But with the terrain editor, there are no limits. And with the terrain editor that they have, the voxel-based terrain editor, really, you're only limited by your imagination. You can have underground areas, you can have tunnels, you could build an entire theme park underground if you wanted to, or you could have part of it underground, you can have part of it on the ground. And guess what, because there's no gravity, you can build floating islands. So like, if you wanted an Avatar theme park, those floating rock islands in Avatar and in loads of other games and whatever, you can do it. So you can have like a 3-tiered theme park. You can have an underground section, you can have the on-ground section, and then you can have floating islands. You could do the whole Avatar thing. You could have Avatar ships flying around, because you can colour the terrain and you can add decorations to the terrain. You could do, you know that somebody's going to do loads of Star Wars stuff. There's going to be a Forest Moon of Endor theme park. You're going to have the Millennium Falcon flying overhead with a squadron of X-Wing fighters following it. You're going to have, on the ground, people are going to build AT-ATs, and seriously, it's gonna be crazy. I know that one of the developers at Frontier has already created like a big dragon, and people are going to do that. People are going to do all kinds of like wild animals. You're going to have lions and elephants, and people are going to build all kinds of things.
I've already got a few ideas. I know I'm lousy at sculpting, but I'm going to do my best in my Let's Play to try and create some cool things. So the next 4 to 6 weeks until we get the terrain editor, I am just going to be like pulling my hair out waiting for that. Now, the final part of this video is going to be looking at the ride cams, because I think you're going to be impressed by the ride cams. I know that I was. But just before we skip on, I mean, this tree that's been put together by one of the developers at Frontier, you can see the level of granularity that you can go down to. You can do quite fine detail with the terrain tool. Seriously, the potential is huge. Right, now this is a park that one of the developers has put together, and here you can see the animatronics, and there's going to be a lot of animatronics that you can add. This is the Kraken, so this is one of like the high value items that you can put in the park. And look at the detail like down below with all the hydraulics and everything, and then you've got the tentacles that you can place. And of course, with the terrain editor, you can bury these down in the ground. You can hide it, or you can show the hydraulics if you want to. Really, it's kind of up to you. And that could lead down into an underground cavern. You could put the whole thing underground. And the decorations, I mean, I didn't even get a chance to play around much with the decorations while I was recording. I did it afterwards, and you seriously can make these places look really, really gorgeous. Now we're looking at one of the ride cams. Now this is the ride cam on the Rocktopus, and the flexibility that you have with these is unbelievable. Not only can you go to the ride cam, you can choose any car on the ride, and this applies to coasters as well. You can choose any car on the ride. You can choose any seat in any car on the ride. And then you've also got this, which is the cinematic camera. And the cinematic camera will try and find the best angles. Here you can see down in the bottom corner. I'll pause that. You can actually see where you can actually choose the ride, which car and which seat in the car you want the camera to be in. Okay, so now we're going to jump to another park, and this, whilst it's not like the prettiest park that you can see in the game, it's got an awesome roller coaster. I've kind of saved the best for last. Here is the ride cam on this coaster, and it is really cool. Now, here we've chosen a particular seat in a particular car, and you can move the camera around, and you could just have it like a normal ride cam, or you can switch to the cinematic cam. Now you can see, this is a really good example of how the cinematic cam kind of chooses for each section of the track like what it thinks is like the best angle or the best view. Now that's something that they're still working on. They're still not happy with the cinematic camera. They want it to do a much better job of capturing like the best possible views that you can get on your rides, and especially when it comes to like going into tunnels and stuff like that. So still a lot of work to do. There's still a lot of refinement to do on that. But yeah, come on, how good is this game? And we're not even at day one of the alpha. I mean, what is this game going to be like in 6 or 7 months when the full game is released? Oh my god! I am so excited to play this. I'm going to leave you with a few shots of kind of a few random shots and some of the rides, the 360 degree and the Rocktopus. And here's a little bit of coaster footage. Again, the examples of the cinematic cam. And like, seriously, if everything you've seen so far wasn't good enough, there's a monkey with a concertina. Oh my god, it doesn't get any better than that. Here's a little kiddies ride. Here's the one for the little ones. Keep them happy. People topping up, grabbing a drink at Cosmic Cow, grabbing a burger at Chief Beef. And these mascots are awesome. This is the Pirate Chief, the Pirate King mascot, which is probably my favourite at the moment. But that's because they haven't got Gulpy in game yet, which is the dinosaur. He's awesome. I like the dinosaur. And a nighttime shot of the Roctopus. And you could see the tentacles from the Kraken wagging around in the background at the beginning of the shot. The game does look so beautiful. And here's a good example of how you should use spotlights rather than the way I was using them. And here's the pirate theme. And look how elaborate that you can be. I mean, and look at the barrels. Look at the barrels rolling around at the top. That's another one of the animated props. Seriously, the animated props are awesome. They really bring the place to life. I mean, it's called like decorating things with like static stuff, but it's like when stuff's moving around and whatever, it just takes it into another dimension. Nice loop on a coaster there. One last thing before we leave it is to tell you about some giveaways. I have got 4 copies of the early bird edition. That's the expensive one. That's the 50 quid version, the $75 version, which will give you access to the alpha from the 22nd. I'm going to start giving those away tomorrow. If you want details of that, check out my Let's Play video tomorrow, and you'll be able to get the details, or you can check out the website from tomorrow, and you'll be able to sign up for that competition, and you could win a copy of the early bird edition and start playing the alpha. Right, that's it, guys. Tomorrow I will be starting my Let's Play. I hope you come back for that. I will catch you for that. Hope you enjoyed this video. Peace out.